everybody. This is Colleen with Speaking of Spirits, and I'm here with my favorite people in the world, Kate and Gina and Susie, and we are going to talk about kind of like gods and goddesses, or how to use um, the ancient gods and goddesses and their practices every day. If you subscribe to that or not, but there's questions in this group, so we thought we would kind of have a question answer session and find out more, because Gina knows all of this stuff. So how do you want to run this? Do you want to?
Well, what I was going to do is just kind of talk about a couple that I'm more familiar with. I've always been intrigued by mythology and pantheons and different things like that. And what I found very interesting was how different cultures and different religions use or include some of the old gods as well as the traditional Christian God, Jesus, Holy Spirit kind of a thing. So the first one that I wanted to kind of talk about, I believe you're actually going to talk about her, and that's Bridget. Is that correct? Are you talking about her, or did you go with a different one?
Well, I had Morgan, and I think I just had Morgan.
Okay.
So if you want to,
so I'll talk. Yeah. I wanted to talk about Bridget because we just had Imbolc. That was February 1st, and that's called our midwinter. It's halfway between winter and spring, and she is one of the gods or goddesses, however you want to look at that, of that time of year. And when I practiced Catholicism, she was one of the saints that I prayed to. And so it's kind of funny. She is a saint in Catholicism, and she is a goddess in Wiccan, pagan type belief systems. So she actually was part of my shift in going to more of an earth-based belief system. Back in 2011, I took a trip to Ireland and landed in Shannon, and that is where she was from. And it was on the Shannon River where she would get the reeds, where she made the even-armed cross, as Christians call it. What the pagan belief system is behind that is it represented the four directions. And that's why they were all equal. But she is of spring and of new birth and of the earth coming back awake, the time of the lambing season. Some of the things that pagans will use as offerings for her is milk and honey and the baby lamb type thing. And so some people will create altars in her honor using the cross, using those symbols on the altar, in hopes that spring will come soon and life will continue on and be abundant and flourish. So it was pretty interesting for me to finally get to go to Ireland. It was a very quirky reason I got to go. Somebody I'd went to school with, her husband was promoted to be a head of the TSA in Shannon, Ireland. And so she's like, I'm told her I've always wanted to go to Ireland, and that's where some of my roots were from. And she's like, come and stay with us and I'll take you around and we'll look.
Wow,
and
that's very cool.
Yeah, ended up flying into Shannon and going all through there. But yeah, the second I stepped off of that plane, it was like being home. And the more that I've researched and studied Bridget, Bree, a lot of them go by different names depending on the people that are using their name or the type of the philosophy, whether it's Christian or pagan or whatever. But she absolutely was one who called me back to the old ways, back to the ways of learning, of healing, of midwifery, of what is it called? Is it midwifery where you have animals as well? Husbandry. I was going to say, I knew it was similar, and all of those things, a lot of people have lost that knowledge throughout time. And I think that's why so many people are being called to go back and learn how to save your seeds so you can plant heirloom seeds the next year. Learn how to weave baskets, make, preserves. Like my mom used to can like crazy. We had a giant room that was a pantry, and it's becoming a lost art.
Mhm.
And it's super important.
It
And
is.
so she was a big calling to me to go back into that direction.
Well, and she's the one who spoke to me first too.
Hmm.
And I think it was always that tie that I have to farming and raising animals and like it's so hard. Like I raise animals and then they live till they die because I can't do anything with them. But I have pigs now and I'm like, okay, they gotta go in the freezer, but oh my god, are they cute. So it's really hard. I walk that line of I'm a farmer, but everything lives to be 30 and then dies. So it's really hard. I'm not a farmer. I raise animals. So
You're
but
a mother.
I know, and they're like, "Hi, mom, hi, mom." I'm like, oh god, it's so hard. Anyway, so but I still have to eat, so I'm like, okay, circle of life, I guess.
Yeah.
Just throw me to the pigs when I die. So
Well, the thing of it is our society has become so greedy in so
Yeah.
many ways. People go out and have to order a 16-ounce steak.
right,
Nobody needs to eat a 16-ounce steak,
Right.
but a lot of people do because they can. And we just have such a devouring
yes,
of
Consumer
everything.
everything. And
Everything.
I
Plants,
really want to get
animals.
back to like raise my own food. I have my own garden now. I'm raising pigs. I have chickens for eggs, and I'm just trying to get to, you know, yeah, of yeah, I do all of that.
Yeah.
So dehydrate stuff, it can it. I'm just constantly, and then I keep it all for me, and I'm constantly giving things away. And even when I have the pigs finally in the freezer, it's going to be, my neighbors are going to get stuff. You guys, everybody's going to get stuff. I don't ever like hoarding it.
No.
I'd like to share. I
Mhm.
think it's important for you to share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is everybody has something.
Right.
And if we all work on
Right.
bartering or sharing or teaching each other how to
Yes.
put up a, quart of tomatoes,
Right.
kind of a thing, it's the world needs this.
Well, it's
We're
kind of
going in a
funny.
bad direction.
We are, and one of my neighbors is he's an elder, a tribe elder, and he gives me things, and I stuff, and we trade stuff all the time. He gives me big salmon. I give him eggs all the time. I give him canning stuff that I put up. I mean, we're constantly trading stuff back and forth, and I just love that. He calls me, I'm there. I don't have time. Same thing. Call him anytime, day. He's here. I mean, it's wonderful. I love that sense of neighbor community thing because I think we've lost that in society.
Yeah.
How many really know their neighbor?
Yeah.
Like know their neighbors,
Or
and
like on a social basis with them. They
Right.
might know who they are or how old they are or whatever, but
right.
you don't necessarily have visits or
Right.
anything like
And this
that.
is the party house. We sit we barbecue. Oh, if he gives me salmon, I grill it and have him over. I mean, and then we invite all the neighbors. And so it's kind of that, like we're sharing with everybody. And one of my she's a harbor fisherman. I mean, and I, so she has me because we can have 2 lines in and she's catching right and left and I nothing. Same bait, same hook, same everything. So they flock to her if I'm there. So anyway, but yeah, then they grill it all, and so I just love that. I think it's really important.
My grandmother knows how to hold her mouth right.
Yes, that is.
Right? Yeah. So I chose Morgan and Morgan or Morgan. I guess there's different ways to say it, but I want you can Bridget and Morgan. They're both
Celtic.
and they're
Mhm.
triple goddesses.
Yes.
So and maybe explain what is a pagan.
A pagan is a person who is an earth-based person. They everybody's different. It's like saying Christian. There's Lutheran and Catholic and Presbyterian and Baptist and da 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 da. So a pagan is like an overall kind of description of mobile. And we have some trucks and
Mhm.
motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. So it's based on Earth cycle. So especially for us that have 4 seasons, it's really important that we honor those seasons. We understand, to tell as they're changing, make sure we have the crops in before the frost hits, or make sure we don't plant before the last frost hits, and different things like that. It's maybe using the moon as part of your work. The powers moon move those. And so when we can bring that into our focus of what we're trying to accomplish, then we can use that energy to help fuel whatever it is we're trying to create. Paganism also can be people who believe in old deities than the modern deities. Maybe they don't at all, and they just work with uh,
Like
herbs
Mother
and
Nature,
plants
yeah.
and Mother
Mhm.
Nature and things like that. The triple goddess is maiden, mother, crone. So maiden is child, maiden is new beginnings, maiden is that point where anything is possible, like childlike. The mother is the nurturer, the one who's creating, the one who helps to take care of things, and the crone is the wise one, the one who's gone through all of those things, has all the life experience to share with people. And like Colleen was saying, Bridget, many of the gods and goddesses are triple, whether it's a triple god or a triple goddess, and they carry those attributes. So they can be called on if you're trying to say, come up with a way to adventure.
Mhm.
That might be something you would call, you could actually call on all three. You could call on the maiden to help with this childlike thinking. Anything's possible. Our imagination is the limit of what we can acquire. And then the mother is the one who raises it and nurtures it and brings it into existence, where the wise one or the crone knows how to maintain that, how to share that with other people, all the things you need to keep it going.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people say that paganism is, oh God, what is the word? They always ho- they always say that anything that's not Christian is not heathen, but
Just
it's
not any of the popular religions in today, like Christianity. Or
but yeah, but they occult.
Yes.
That's part of the occult.
Yeah.
And this came first. Earth-based
Yes.
stuff came first, and then Christianity bloomed. So you have to remember that this is going way back before Christianity. This is not occultish. This is earth-based.
This, or many Christian religions came up with their calendar, such as lambing season in December.
Right.
It isn't
Right.
in December, but suddenly that was the date that Jesus was born, because that is Yule in pagan.
Right.
And it was an attempt to get them to we went into the Spanish Inquisition and all of that afterward for those that didn't. But if you look at the commonality, like I said, I was raised Catholic and I loved every aspect of my religion. I did not like the people, and I did not like the politics, and I did not like the abuse, nor the hiding of it. So, but if you look at that, the priest wears a robe. He's called a priest. It has cords. They have censers with incense. They have candles. They have an altar. They have bells. They have wine in the chalice. Those were not created by Catholicism.
Right. Right.
Those were borrowed from the fellow pagans.
Right. So, Morgan, I like Morgan because she's associated with the Banshee. And I am very fond of the Banshee. And I have a Banshee, a dog named Banshee, but she's a Banshee. But she's also considered a triple goddess, and she's a guard. She's a guard territory where Britain is all about beginnings and new birth, and spring and blooming and all of that, right? Morgan is She's the guardian. And I've called upon her when I've needed help, and I've put protection around my land. And it's intentions, right? But it has worked.
Mhm.
It works. She works, and I'm very careful what I ask of her, because there's sometimes in all of this stuff, there can be a dark side if you're asking too much or too often or too for minor things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's like almost like this karmic balance. Like
Yeah.
if you're
Well,
asking,
all
you
things
better
come with a
be in the
price.
right. Like
Right.
yeah.
So she's associated with fate. So when I feel like I have to prepare for battle, that's who and I'm talking about battle with, I need strength maybe to deal with something large in my life. That would be somebody I call on. I need, that shield to ground me because it's going down. Call on her. Generally, I'm talking to Bridget because of my farming mind and the animal mind, but sometimes you need to call on a few others to give you strength, whatever you need. But yeah, most of the time I'm not calling on them at all. It's
Yeah.
just I'm just thanking the universe for what I have, and
The way that I look at it all the time is the difference for me between the Christianity, which don't get me wrong, I still believe in all the things that I believed before, I just believe more. Is you are beneath, you worship, you follow rules, where it pays them. It's like, hey, Colleen, my friend who knows how to raise chickens, raising chickens, do it. They have attributes, they have strengths, they have things that they do. And if you're familiar with Catholicism, there's 20,000 saints, and Bridget is one of them.
20,000.
20,000. There's one God, but there's 20,000 saints, even though one of those saints, even though one of those saints is also a goddess in Celtic belief.
Right.
So each one of them have attributes. Saint Anthony helps you find things. Saint Jude is possible things. So it's like asking a person, like your dog is sick, you talk to the veterinarian. It's not necessarily the same kind of mind thought with Christianity. It is just going on or asking assistance. A lot of some people, everybody's different. Some people do worship.
Mhm.
But it just, I don't know, it's a beautiful thing once you start looking into it and you start looking at those similarities between your root or your ancestors or your current belief system. See how intermeshed everything
Right.
really is.
You had some questions earlier. Do you want to talk about them at all?
Yeah, we can unless you want to go first.
Well,
So as you two were talking, and I know you've spoke about this before, how did you guys come to recognize or feel like you affiliate with a particular one? Like, did you have visions? Did you just sense? Can you explain that
I didn't look, they came to me.
and how?
Well, like I said, the first thing was going to Ireland. I've always had this draw to travel around. Now I know I have gypsy blood and other things like that, and that explains a whole lot.
It's
But
called the Wanderlust.
yes,
Yes.
so going to Ireland. What do we think of usually when we think of Ireland? Dublin. That's where I thought I was going. That was the only part of Ireland I didn't get to go to. I went to the whole north, west, south, and kind of southeast, and Dublin's kind of northeast.
So you went into Northern Ireland.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where my family's from, is the Northern Ireland, not Ireland. Northern Ireland.
Yeah. So, I had looked at airline tickets from Salt Lake to Dublin, and the family I was staying with, she goes, "Why don't you check rates into Shannon?" And I said, "Oh, do they have an international airport?" And she's like, duh, yeah, that's where my husband works. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. And I thought, well, while I'm doing this, I'm going to look from Idaho Falls to Shannon. And when I had looked to Salt Lake to Dublin, it was running just around $1,000 round trip. It was $742 from Idaho
Wow.
Falls to Shannon, Ireland.
And now I think I just read that Idaho Falls is going to have another. I think it's Dublin.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
And it was just everything fell into place. And like I said, as a Catholic, I had prayed to Bridget many times for different things. And so when I went,
Wait a minute.
it's the same person. And it was a human. It was a living
Right.
human.
Right.
And she's a goddess and she's a saint. And she's in Shannon and that's where I'm going. So
Yeah.
she definitely called to me. She was my familiar to transition more out of the Catholic belief. And it isn't, like I said, it isn't the beliefs that I had issues with, it was the people.
Right.
As far as the other deities that I work with, I work also with Isis, and she came to me in a meditation. And strangely enough, I ended up in Egypt in 2018. And a part of my vision that she said to me, at least 12 to 15 people in Egypt said the exact same thing to me. And it was very strange, but she totally called to me. In my meditation, when I walked in, she said, "Welcome back. We've missed you." 12 to 15 people in Egypt, from restaurants, from market booths, from tours, from people just strolling down the street would stop me and say, "Welcome back. We've missed you."
Very nice.
And I thought they said that to everyone. And I asked everyone, and everyone's like,
No.
no. And the other one is Hecate, and she's from the Greek pantheon, which I've recently learned I also have Greek ancestry. And so it was kind of funny, but all of them came to me.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I was sitting in the hay barn on Charlotte, and I just knew that Bridget was who I needed to study. So it just all of a sudden came to me. But I since then found that I have stumbled upon some paperwork from my mom that I guess I stuffed in boxes when she died, and I hadn't gone through everything.
Mhm.
It took me years. I mean, she's been gone 20 years now, so it took me years to go through everything. Finally went through it, and she had made notes about my grandfather on my dad's side studying and being a practicing druid.
Well, very
And I
nice.
had no idea. Now, he never spoke to me about this. It was very, very, very quiet.
Well,
But my mom, she studied Wicca for years. So I don't know. I mean, I have no reason to believe that in her like journals she would lie.
mhm.
He was teaching her things. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So you ladies know me. That so I'm more of like an omniist. An omniist is someone that believes that there's a grain of truth in everything,
Mhm.
and I tap into that line of truth that runs through everything.
Mhm.
For me, like the universe isn't something that's outside of us, intangible. It is also us.
Mhm.
So, analogy that I like to use is you have a big old chocolate cake and you cut it up into 12 pieces and you hand out each piece of cake. Well, to that person that's holding that piece of cake, is that no less cake than the whole cake that it was?
Right.
Or is that still cake? So to me, we are the universe is us. So I don't have a division kind of thing
Mhm.
going on. But as you guys have been talking, it reminds me, and I did talk to her about this, and I'll explain a little bit further. Because once I started learning some of these principles, I actually manifested you guys along with my job, along with the interests, because I said, this is, dear universe, this is what I want. Make it so. And my tribe has shown up. And my interests have bloomed.
It was
My
instant
jobs.
when I met you too. It was
Yes.
instant. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I knew who she was. I knew her name immediately. I was like, that's Colleen. But let's reverse this, clear back into 2017. I was in Oregon. My mother had been passed away since 2000. She passed away. I had a very profound dream, and she doesn't visit me very often. Where she showed up and she wanted to know exactly what was going on with me, why I had these interesting abilities, right? And so she took me to a gypsy tarot reader lady, which is interesting because I just
Mhm.
picked up tarot not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
We sat down, we walked into this room and we sat down in front of this beautiful gypsy lady, and she looked at me with shock. And she said, "Your Majesty, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. I can't believe that you're here." And she was shocked. And my mother looked at me like, "What?" And the lady says, "Thank you for coming. You didn't know who she is? You had no idea who she is this whole time?" I found that interesting. And then she said, "You need to come with me." So I stood up. We left that room. We went into another room, and there was this group of ladies there that stripped me naked. And they painted me blue, head to toe. And then they me in a
This
blue.
is right.
This is where I know. Don't read that. But she grabbed this blue robe and she put it over me, over my shoulder, and she pinned it with the Celtic little robe pin things. And then they had this big crown, like twigs, gold twigs, and they placed it on my head. And then set me outside, and on my feet under my ground, I was outside barefoot, naked.
No, wait a
with this
minute.
robe.
Is this is real or is this
Dream.
a dream?
This
This
was her
is the
dream.
vision that I.
Oh, okay, 'cause
God,
I'm like, I was like,
What are you
okay.
doing?
No. Remember, I said my mom was dead. So then I'm standing outside in the forest, with the forest in the fields, and there's a fence by me, but I have one foot on each side of this creek that's running between, and I'm standing out there. I felt the weight of all of humanity kind of like being responsible for them.
Mm.
I felt that, and I was like,
That's
I
a
can
heavy
do
load.
this. I can do this. And then I woke up. So let me ask you, who is that? Because it felt very Celtic to me.
It's
Extremely.
interesting because the first thing that came to my mind was the Hindu gods, because many of them are blue.
Oh.
Like Kali
Mhm.
Kali Ma, I think is her name. Was
But also the Celtic blue
yeah.
in pink.
Unless truth from all religions, right?
It
Showing
could
up
be.
in one
It
dream.
could be the ism.
Yeah, very
Mhm.
much so. But yeah, the twigs make sense being the more
Mhm.
Celtic, but they were painted gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
it
that
was gold,
kinda,
But
yeah.
this was silver. The brooch was silver. The robe was blue. It was just really interesting. It was very profound, and of course I wrote it down. And then later I thought, tarot, interesting. And then much later,
Mhm.
here's tarot. Here's my family.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my tribe of people that I can be comfortable with and talk to. No judgments, and resonate any other particular
One
gods,
in particular.
goddesses.
Have to dip into that. Might need to here.
And
Yeah.
dipping into that old, it's a big old gate now. I'll tell you what.
No,
I wonder if
it's right. It's like right here, and I can't.
I keep thinking of. I think there's a name, and I swear it comes up with a C, but I don't know.
well, that would have been the Hindu one.
But there's
Started
one
with a
in.
C.
Isn't there one in
Kalich?
Could it be Kalich?
Isn't she?
I think so. Kalich. That's interesting. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the dream that of Isis. She put the headdress, she put the collar, she gave me the ankh, she gave me the other whatever the pharaoh looking.
Mm-hmm.
Goddess of the cold and the winds, sometime known as the Veiled Queen. She's Celtic.
Is she blue?
She every picture I've seen of her, she does not have normal colors. I don't remember blue, but like gray or silver.
She's both a divine and a creator deity. She determines the length and the harshness of winter, and
That's the blue.
that's
The
the
winter.
blue when the winter blues, the winter blue, the hue we get in the winter time. Yeah, she's the creator landscape, and weather, and storms, and winter.
Yeah, she, along with groundhog, is on the second of the couch. If it is a beautiful sunny day, she wakes from her winter slumber and goes out and gathers wood so that winter can continue.
Here for 6 more.
But if it's a cold, rainy day, like don't see, kind of groundhog thing, she continues to sleep and just wakes up when the sun comes back. So that just happened on February 1st.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, I've
So,
always had an affinity for storms. I love them.
yeah.
I
so-
survived Hurricane Aniki, but I stood on the shore and watched those 80-foot waves hit the shore.
yeah. So maybe that's who study a little bit and see if that resonates with you.
Reach out.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Who do you have?
I have Scotty because I follow the Norse beliefs. So
Okay.
she's the goddess of winter and the hunts and mountains. So I feel like here she's really relatable to her.
Yes.
But yeah, I started following her because I just kept dreaming about her, which is interesting. Yeah, and there was a statue at a metaphysical store here in town that I just kept dreaming of, and I felt like I had to buy it, and it just ended up being like this gateway into paganism. So that's who I follow. She's really cool because she started out as a giantess. The gods actually killed her father, so she like battled, like suited up, ready for battle, and ended up one of the gods in a deal. And they get along. She shared the peace in the mountain. He was the god of the sea. So it allowed the waves crashing, seagulls, and they ended up going their own ways because she was just like, basically, I had to be true to myself. And so that really resonated with me. So that's that I follow.
And that's Scotty.
Yeah. Some people will say Skadi here, but that's the very American
Way,
pronunciation.
okay.
Yeah. So it almost like sounds like Scott beam me up. That's what I have every time I say it.
Really interesting because I have lived right on the beach, like on the beach, 3 times in my life, and I ran from it 3 times.
Really.
I couldn't stand the noise.
Yeah.
Really?
And see, it's the most
love it.
calming thing in the universe to me.
Yeah,
See, I
no.
prefer the mountains now.
Yeah.
I used to be a beach person,
I-
but now.
So I
love
lived
Yeah.
right
Both.
below Vandenberg Air Force Base. It's called a Hollister Ranch, and it's absolutely stunning. It's a gated community, allowed in there, biggest wave surfing. The only thing I enjoyed about it is the fact that we ate turkey almost every night because somebody was catching them, and so we were grilling them all the time. So good, but noise, constant noise. I have to have quiet, the air through the pine needles and the birds.
Mhm.
And that constant noise drove me insane. But
That's funny. I turn noise on at night to sleep.
I do
do
too.
too.
It's
It's different.
different. Yeah. I have frogs and crickets.
Mhm.
And you can shut off when you can't shut off the ocean.
No. And yeah, so I drove in it. I hope that you had fun with this podcast. We talked a little bit about everything here.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. And stay tuned. We have more good coming your way.
You've been listening to Speaking of Spirits, powered by Pocatello Paranormal Research in Pocatello, Idaho. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad you could be here. If you're enjoying the podcast, please do us a favor and go to whatever platform you are listening to the podcast on and give us a review. We prefer the 5-star reviews. This helps us know how we're doing, and it helps others to find the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on our next podcast.